Cayman moon,
the voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
shining down from above.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
there are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here on this truly terrific Thursday as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. 1-800-534-8255. Hey, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. Let's start our things with some open line. Today is Thursday, and we normally would have the excellent company of the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Just the team had a chance to speak with him. Now, hopefully, you don't see me as being overly, deferent and necessarily defensive of him, but man, he honors his commitments, and had it not been for the unexpected occurrence just moments ago, he would be here. If he gets through that, he will be here, and looking forward to that opportunity to share with him. But until then, why don't we just kick things off and get open line up and running, and have you share your thoughts with us about whatever it is that's affecting you or you think is important. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can, WhatsApp 925-3261. Likewise, you can send us your thoughts on our email. Talk today at candw.ky. I was having a chance to chat with a few of our listeners earlier in relation to some of the challenges, and after at the conclusion of the program yesterday, as we were exiting, I shared with you something that I had seen. Now, it wasn't out of, in a sense, of great frustration. It was out of sort of surprise. I shared, I was driving along and a vehicle had pulled over to the side of the board and just emptied the contents of the car, the bottles, the plastic, and all of the litter into the bush, bush along the side of the main road. And I thought, wow, frustrating, nasty. I'm not quite sure. It was shocking, surprising, unexpected. Well, since then, a few of you have shared, pictures of things you've seen on the beach. The bags of garbage that not seemingly collected and waiting to be removed, but according to the people, seemed like people went to the beach and just either deposited the garbage there, or whenever they were finished, they didn't bother to take it away. At least they were good enough, as he puts it, to at least put their trash in a garbage bag or bags of sorts. Didn't tie it around. So would it be open now to the wild dog and fowl and other animal and critter to tear it apart? Just even the elements. Right here on our public ways and our beaches and the like. Well, we can talk about that. Calls in the queue, Miss Susan. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Mr. Sterling, this is your good friend, but I can't mention my name.
Okay.
You know who it is.
Yes.
How you been?
Very thankful. How about yourself?
Up and down.
Oh, man. I hope
have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I get paid $150 at my job. Only work 2 hours a day.
and I have rheumatoid arthritis in my knees. And NIU is giving taxpayer food voucher to go buy their food. And they're selling their food, and I can't get no food voucher. I went the other day, they say, they have me running around. I got a doctor's note saying I am sick with both knees, and I have an operation next year. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It does not make no sense. Can you explain that to me? Why they're not assisting me? I need my help bad because I can't even hardly walk right now. I have to crawl to work.
Wow.
Okay.
You know, and as I listen to you, I think in the last week or so, the amount of times people were sharing, not just asking advice, guidance, but sharing a story where similarly, maybe because of an illness, maybe because of some disability, or maybe because of the person's mental capacity, there's assistance that's required. Caretaker, someone to help them to manage their affairs, maybe someone to care for them. And seemingly, whether it's through some sort of insurance coverage or a government program, there is no, reliable, available resource that people genuinely could access. Your case in point. And yet, as you shared, seemingly there are others who otherwise should be able to go out and at least assist themselves. They're not only being assisted, but the assistance that they're getting, they're abusing it, not taking the food, and consuming it, but taking the food and reselling it. What do we do about that as a community?
I don't know. The hurtful part of it, I'm hurting every day when I go to work. I have to fight to go to work. But see, I have a cousin who is on it, and she does crack cocaine, and it does not make no sense. They're selling their food for crack. And good citizens like me and you are not getting no attention about things. It's unfair.
What do you think a better sort of assessment protocol? I don't want to say it that way, but that's a means to be able to look not just from the government aspect, but from our community's perspective. As an example, someone shared with me recently, within the community, there are a number of individuals. In this case, mostly young, seemingly healthy men, but they have an addiction problem. And perhaps they'll be clean for a while. You take them under your wing, you offer them employment, assistance, housing, food, shelter, the things to try to get them better. And then 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, not long down the road, they go right back to their lifestyle. They're not able to maintain consistent employment. One fellow yesterday was sharing his heart, as he says, through his church, through his service club. They're trying to assist a couple of guys, but they're not getting anywhere.
No.
Not, unlike the situation you're sharing somewhat,
Yeah, because if you see me right now, if I stand too long, my legs I feel like I'm falling.
Wow.
I'm only 51.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying I'm able to work. Yeah, I have a minimum, chances to work. I can't work full time. I can't work 9 hours. I can't work 10 hours. Because of my knees. Yeah. Because if you see my knees right now, my knees is twice as big as yours.
Yeah. Well, it is something that I think that when we look down the road, as we look at, what potentially the country could look like, its demographic, its, employment base, and all of the other things, including the social ethic, the ethos that we have, are we even concerned as to what we can do to make sure our people are valued, that they're able to make a valuable contribution as well? And I'm not sure that we're getting it right as a people.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
And plus, they need to do manual drug tests for these people that is on food voucher.
Yeah.
They need that because it's unfair. If an old person needs help, they can't get it.
Yeah.
The door is slammed in their face, and they say, "No, ma'am, we can't help you. We got to help this person that is in back of you."
Is it the criteria that is being used, the policy that may have been implemented way back when? Is it that there is such an overwhelming, sort of need that we're not sure how to respond, and so we're just coping as best as we can?
I can't hardly answer that, no.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much for your to answer as well, no? Yeah.
I know. I'm willing to work. That's one thing I am. I'm willing to work. But I cannot work too long because of my knees.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do nothing now, who's going to take care of me? My son is in Cayman working, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be a married man next month.
Well, congrats.
And
or not, I'm not sure. I'm just kidding.
I know, but I'm just saying, my son cannot help me. He has his life to live. You understand?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I mean, I recall a conversation early part of the year where, individuals were sharing that, as the adult children, they're concerned about the parents, but they have their own lives, their families, their mortgages, their children's education, and the parents would want to be independent. But how are we able to help our aging parents as well as maintain our responsibilities? But anything else you want to share with us? Because I'm thinking how do we help this situation? I'm not quite sure just yet.
The topic I just brought up, they should look into it more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't fight for what other people need, they're going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, give those who need and maybe how those who be able to justify. Yes,
Mom. They need to do random drug tests with these people.
Yeah. Well, that's something to consider. All right.
Okay, you have a good day.
Thank you, and thanks again for sharing, and I trust that something comes of it quickly for your benefit. All right. Let's take another call. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very thankful. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I feel that little pain, believe me, because I'm having these problems as well, too. I had surgery on one of my knees, and I did go to the assessment, and let me tell you something. That was like, I can't even say the two things they didn't ask you on the radio right now with all what they took you through to help you. And then when they help you, they cut you off and don't even tell you they cut you off. Then when you call them, they say, oh, you got to come back in and re-sign up, and so, re-sign up again.
Right.
So,
but if I can ask you, I mean, not please don't take it that I'm trying to defend them by any means, right? But I always believe, like a household, that sometimes the parents aren't the ones who we look to as being the responsible ones. The parents need to hold the children accountable for the behavior, but it's the parents. So in a government agency, let's use the one you're speaking of, they're doing what they are doing in the way they're doing it with the resources that they have. But is the challenge the people above them, the supervisors? Let's go to the top from the elected side, the ministers, from the ministerial side, the chief officers, to the deputy governors, to the surrounding community. We're seeing the frontline staff, and they're the ones who are bearing the brunt. Maybe similar to the bank. We go into the bank, and it's a teller that, we take our frustration out because of the bank fees, because of the red tape and the thing of the bank. But is it the bank's policies and management that we should be directing, those things to, as opposed to the frontline teller who has to bear us as customers because, we're being charged to cash a check or a fee or something? I'm wondering if it's not similar.
Sterling, this need assessment and social service, they got so many people on their list that has been on there for years, on top of years, and to reassess them, they just apparently start doing some new assessments since this new government took over in Austin and whoever else is in charge, you understand? But Austin, that need assessment and the social service has been broken from day one. They did it totally wrong. They go and they help, and they help and help. So some people can't even come off of it now. They're still on it, can't come off because they never went and checked on them to see, well, did you go look a job? Show me proof where you look a job. Show me proof you went to look an apartment and whatever the case may be, Sterling. We got people who are using cynical cards, call themselves, I would say, not some of them say they're not workable no more. And they are abusing that cynical card. and I can't see what they're contributing to my island. Do they go to the hospital and visit us, the people? Do they do anything for the community? They're sitting down, sucking up their $500 or $600 a month. They're using the cynical card left, right, and center. And how often they're being checked on to see what their history is of what they accomplished job-wise or anything in that category. We are just abusing the system, and those that really fully need it, Sterling, cannot get in there because the red tape is getting harder and harder because those that have been in there for so long, you can't get them out, and they're the ones who make it difficult, and who would be honest enough to say, well, I'm going to need assessment today, so to let them know I got a real job, and they can take me off of the list. You know what I mean? But we don't do that, Sterling.
No, but as I listen to you, when whether it's needs assessment or some other agency in government says, okay, we need to review so that we can ensure that the recipients are still needing of that assistance, are still actually alive, and they go through their assessment program and review. Isn't it at times there are communities now accuse them of all sorts of manner of evil when they're just trying to make sure that they're doing the job to ensure that the people who need are actually getting assistance?
So when you got people that dead and people are still going and collecting the assessment and social service from government, they should be ashamed of themselves. Sterling, we got people here that is bashful and shame to go to the grocery store to use that piece of paper for the assessment. Now they're giving them cards now. And they even bashful to go and use them cards as well too. But yet they're using it, but they're looking to see who are around them because they're ashamed to know that they got to make government feed them. If you're so ashamed of government feeding, you can help yourself, get out and get a job. Our system has been broken from day one, Sterling.
Fair enough. But I mean, I understand that, there's a difference, between proud and having pride. But in your example, maybe there are some people who have, fallen on hard times, as they say, who for that interim period is having a difficult time financially to put food on the table and pay the bills. Is there a way that we can help those people without causing them to feel devalued, so that when they have that assistance, whether it's through a card or a voucher or something else, that they can go and still maintain a semblance of pride without necessarily, being subjected to, in their minds at least, some sort of devalued position and ridicule?
Sterling, you had Ms. Echiniki on there in regard to someone's call about having an ID on the card, and she was not all for that in regard to this sort of like it wouldn't be right to have a person's picture on their card because they may not go to the store, they may be disabled, they'll probably have to send their family member and all that kind of stuff. And some people, in other words, pride is too high to have their name, their picture on a need assessment card to go and get their groceries. That's how you can go and collect that groceries. Your picture should be on that ID. Should be on it. We here living like we're so high and mighty, and we don't need nobody, but yet we can go and use government vouchers, cards, and whatever else, and cynical cards here and there. Like it just came to us naturally. We got people out here who is desperate need, and those that is put in health, they can still go and get a part-time job here and there. They don't want to because they're sitting on cynical, they're sitting on need assessment, they're sitting on social service, and I got to say, they need to come out here and rewrap that need assessment and that social service to see who really needs from who don't need. And those that didn't contribute to the Cayman Islands, even my Caymanians, get those son of a guns off of it. They got families, they got children, and all you can hear, their children can't help them. What's the purpose of having children that can't help them?
Well, the question that we have to ask is to what extent, we are creating wealth in our society, and is that being shared, at least the opportunity to share it by our people. Respectful on, thank you so much, for sharing with us. Do apologize, we're a little bit late for the break, Susan. I don't know, you have to buy me chocolate. Nah, I'll buy you the chocolate to make up for it. Please join us when we come back at some open line. We want to take your calls, man. Stay tuned for Talk Today, 949-8037, or you can call us on the toll-free line. Either way, if we hear from you, we'll know what you're saying. Stay tuned, please.
Hon, what do you say we do a staycation this month?
What? With all these bills, you really think we could find money to do that?
Well, you obviously haven't seen that CUC bill this month.
Do I ever want to?
You think that cleaning the AC filter, setting the thermostat, timing the water heater, and resealing the windows and doors was for nothing or what? We is going on a staycation, honey.
CUC, you've got the power. CUC.
This message was brought to you by Caribbean Utilities Company Limited. Remember, you've got the power to conserve the energy you use and save.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Hi, I'm Brother John. On behalf of the pastors and the congregation of the Wesleyan Holiness Church, we invite you to join with us, the Wesleyan Holiness Church in Georgetown, for our Sunday worship at 11 a.m., located at 174 Anthony Drive in Windsor Park. For more information on our services, please visit us or call us at 548-0874. The Wesleyan Holiness Church is a place of worship and fellowship. Come worship with us this Sunday at 11 a.m. and other weekly services.
Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio featuring Will Sinatra.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, dancehall, Latin, soca, urban gospel, old school.
The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future.
It's hard. Being a parent is demanding, not to mention trying to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. I needed help, and the Ministry of Education was able to provide it for my child to attend preschool. From one parent to another, if you need the financial help, submit your application today to find out if you qualify for preschool funding assistance.
If you have a child who is 3 years old but not yet 4 by September the 1st, you may be eligible to receive funding. Application forms can be collected from the Government Administration Building, the Department of Education Services, all early childhood centers, and may be found on the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.ky. If you need more information about this government assistance program, please do email ecap@gov.ky. That's ECAP@gov.ky. Or call 244-5724.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line as we take your calls and have you share your thoughts with us. Hey, your opinion matters to us. It's important that we hear from you and you can share your thoughts as the callers prior were asking. What is it that's happening in the society that's creating not only what seems to be a growing need, but perhaps one that is being, unrecognized, perhaps insufficient resources are being dedicated. Now, if you accuse me of being defensive of civil servants, in particular the ones that are not necessarily at the top, well, that may be true, but it's partly because you have a choice. A minor or a parent, who do you think should be responsible? Now, the child should obviously be held accountable or held to account for the actions, but isn't it the parent? Well, maybe it's the same way. If you look at it in the business circle, should the chairman of the board, the CEO, where the buck stops? In the political circle, should it not be with the president, the premier, the prime minister, that elected political leader, or should it be with the underling? Sometimes people are scapegoats, but sometimes people need to be held accountable because of the responsible position that they occupy. What is your view? 949-80 3837 or 1-800-534-8255. Caller prior had asked a few things in relation to, random drug tests. Someone during the break sent through a message and suggests that maybe in some industries that should be the norm. Person went as far as to suggest that that should be mandatory, but it should be for everybody, from the very, very top position to the new hire. Every single person. And it doesn't matter, it just should be random. It should be required, and you come in and one day it's one employee out of the 100, one day it's 10, one day it's the 100, and it's every single person. And it could be today and then tomorrow again. It comes in, it may be today and not for another year, but it needs to be random and needs to be surprised. The person shared that in a particular organization with which he was affiliated, he said that there was a suspicion that one of the colleagues seemingly, had an issue with substance abuse. And it was obvious when another employee would go for lunch and come back, a little bit less agey, a little bit more jovial. And of course, it was obvious that they may have partaken of some libation. In years since, another colleague perhaps had a less noticeable appearance, but nonetheless, something was awry. Now, depending on who you are, things may be addressed in a certain way. It is open line though, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. When we're ready for our calls, let's go to our phones. Welcome. Thank you for sharing with us.
Good afternoon. Hello. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, Sterling. Thankful.
Amen.
I just to draw your attention to the fact I traveled last week. Me and my son had the privilege to leave for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you, me going through the airport, I felt pride at first because I see all the renovations that's going on and, looking really good. But as I hit that I left the counter at Cayman Airways and I was going through security and all of this search, I was completely, when I tell you, I have never felt so terrible with not seeing a Caymanian face assisting me and my family and all the other passengers going through straight until we were able to wait to board that plane. I mean, there's something as simple as taking your baggage, your seat,
mm-hmm.
and tearing that. We could not see a Caymanian. When I tell you, because Caymanian, we know our own. And going through and being searched by different nationalities, something that I know. We have so much young people, so much people that is able to do a job as simple as that. And even going to buy a bottle of water, you could not even be served by a Caymanian. And I'm saying, this is absolutely ridiculous. Who are we building for?
Well, that's a question that unfortunately...
And it goes back to the fact that the people that have these people employed are our own Caymanians. When are we going to hold them accountable and say, look, you can train, you have hundreds of young people coming out. You can tell me they can't use a one and search you and check your bags and learn to do those monitors and to simply take your boarding pass from you, that we can't have Caymanian faces doing that? Where else in the world you go and you see that other than the great big America where they're a huge country, so we would expect. But something going through, we have so much young people out there that is willing and able. Yes, there's some that is not willing and there's some that's not able as well. But my goodness, it just completely blew my mind to see that we, and the English, speaking the English is another thing. They're telling you to do an instruction, you got to keep asking them, what did you say? I mean, it's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. And all we're sitting on is something terrible to happen when these young people start to rise up in regards to getting an opportunity in their country. Caymanians are leaving because there's no opportunity, but they're not even giving them the chance, Sterling.
So how do we address that? Because if I may ask you, and you raised a point today that probably 20 years ago, the question you asked earlier, who are we developing for, is a question that we've heard many times in the political campaigns, and the proponents for the continued development would say, well, it's for us. And then those who are trying to get there are accused of posturing so that they can create a name. But if we look at our statistics and we say that, excess of 50% of the working population is on a permit, of the remaining population, maybe half of those are probably, not Caymanian, as it were. Are you of the view then that as we grow our population, that it's going to be better for the country and its people, or is it going to further disenfranchise and displace the country and its people?
Well, the few of us that is here that can say we're indigenous Caymanians, or we have a long line of our grandparenting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're being outnumbered daily. And I know I'm all for development, and I know we're not going to have the workforce to say that we're not going to need work permit holders. But my goodness, let that be the last. Let that be the last extreme. When you've exhausted all the other avenues, we have our young people coming out. There's nobody putting into training. Everybody gets up on a political platform and say, oh, we're going to have vocational, oh, we're going to have this. But as soon as the elections is over, they forget. And these are young people that are willing and able, but if you're not tooling them up, they will always be the second class in their own country. You're letting them come out not prepared. Until we start to focus on getting this education thing right, and in the meantime, the government and the MLAs having the political will to say to these people, you need to get a training program. You need to assist with our young people or any people that is out of a job. When you have that down to a certain percentage that you say the population that is not working, we know there's a lot of people out there that we will never be able to employ or get them a job, because that's just a fact. That's all over the world. But if you don't give this young and up-and-coming generation now the opportunity, it's not going to be no enjoyment for nobody, Sterling.
That's the fear, that they're going to be so despondent, discouraged, that they may decide that, you heard MLA Bernie Bush shared a couple of times that, as he talks to someone, they say, well, if I can't be a part of it, I may as well mash it up.
Thank you very much. And that is what we're faced with. And I can tell you, it is coming, and it's coming sooner than we think. Because I've been in the system. I'm a part of the education system for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I am telling you, I hear it, I feel it, and I see it every day. We're now working with a generation of kids that their parents missed the boat in regards to being youth at risk or whatever. So it's just a matter of time. But like I say, me seeing that kind of situation, and who owns these companies but our own Caymanians?
But who gives the permits?
They own the companies, and then the government grant them the permit.
Right.
So they're bringing in here people to work $4, $5, $6 an hour. We know the fact that a Caymanian can't survive on that. But the other nationalities, they make it work. Yes, they do. But that's beyond the point. You need, if they don't have a heart, the Caymanians that have got it made, and it's what we would say in the shade, and their children will be well protected because they've built that empire for them. They need to start to think now. You have grandkids coming up. You want them to be a part of this little rock? Well, you better start getting out there and making your wealth be dispersed among your Caymanian people.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, if people hearing you don't take on board what you have shared, hopefully somebody would whisper it to them so we hear it again. Anything finally you want to leave with us?
No, just to say that I'm really pleased with all of the business owners that are in the situation, especially those that are at the airport. For God's sake, wake up and see where you know what I had to do when I was getting on Cayman, when I saw all of those Caymanian faces, those guys. I said to them, they must have thought I was a mad woman. I said, oh my God, thank you guys.
Okay.
I'm so happy to see my Caymanians out here, and they just laugh to say, yes, miss, and they going through. I could not believe it because I was so upset going through until I got out there on that tarmac and saw my own out there as well as sister. But going through, just simply taking your baggage clean, you couldn't see a Caymanian face.
Yeah. Very disheartening, no?
It's terrible. Anyway,
Thank you.
like I said, keep the good fight up, my dear, and keep bringing the issues. And like I say, I pray that those that is in the position to make the change would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't, nobody's going to be able to enjoy the little bit that we have left.
Well,
Okay, Sterling, thank you again.
Thank you for the courage and conviction and the compassion. So share with us. We're going to pause and take a short break, join our callers. And of course, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Ezzard Miller, is in the studio. We're going to hear from him. Have all of our callers share so that together we can find out what's happening. So please join us after the break.
One TradeX knows there's more than one way to invest. One TradeX is the Cayman Islands' only fully licensed online broker-dealer, offering discount trading services to individual investors and traders, hedge fund managers, and family offices. One TradeX has the most competitive online trading prices of any offshore broker worldwide, with no custody or management fees, free demonstration accounts, and no charge to open an account with a $5,000 minimum deposit. Trade stocks, options, futures, bonds, and Forex. Learn more and open your free demo account today at OneTradeX.com. OneTradeX, the Cayman Islands' #1 choice for online brokerage. OneTradeX is licensed to conduct securities investment business by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
BritK protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
Attention construction industry. Get affordable builders public liability and workmen's compensation insurance today with FIS Insurance Brokers, offering combined annual premiums starting as low as $700. Policies are required for registration with the Cayman Islands Builders Board. Contact FIS Insurance Brokers today for full details and to sign up for your policies ahead of the Builders Board deadline on July 31st. Call FIS Insurance Brokers on 623-5616.
Missing the deadline will require applicants to sit mandatory board examinations.
Place household garbage in large bags prior to its placement in a garbage container to avoid spillage during collection. A suitable garbage container must be made of sturdy materials that will allow it to withstand weathering. A tightly fitted cover is also necessary to keep out water and stray animals. Do your part. Keep your surroundings clean. Store household garbage in a suitable garbage container. For more tips on proper waste packaging, please visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. We're taking your calls, enjoying your contribution as we welcome the wonderful company of the Honourable Ezzard Miller, the Leader of the Opposition. So we have some calls online, but thank you for sitting in with us, listening. As we hear, we can answer and contribute. So good afternoon to you, sir. Formally have to acknowledge you in the studio.
I want to apologise for being late. I had a little problem I had to take care of with my wife's car, but and we got some miscommunication using the wrong numbers between you and I. But I'm happy to be here, and
Yeah, man. Well,
I try to stay as much. I can stay till 2:00 at least.
At least, man. Well, if you give some bread and water, we'll be holding.
Right.
Let's take our callers. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling and sharing with us. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Sterling. Good afternoon, Ezzard Miller, Leader of the Opposition. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you as well. Very quickly, your previous caller, Mr. Moderator, I think made some salient points. My question is, are we going to create a work culture of no drinking on the job, or a culture where during your afternoon siesta you are to take, well, that'd be like the Mexicans, I suppose. We, instead of having a 1 hour lunch break, we have a 3 hour lunch break. We take a nap, we have a few drinks and come back to work. The reason I ask is, it is very unfair. So that's the question. We're going to have a culture of no drinking on the job, or a culture of a few drinks in moderation. The reason I ask, and my point is, it is very unfair to those persons who are seeking employment but they're being discriminated against because they have a past of alcoholism. They no longer drink. They've straightened up their act. They mean business, but they're not given the chance because of their past failures. We need to get beyond that.
And
right?
they're relying on what to know that the people had a problem? Police record?
That's one issue, because the young man who's 22 years old, who has had a history of smoking marijuana, he's discriminated against, but he's surrounded from the supervisor right down. And I'm not saying which department or which private sector job. It is a culture we're creating. So you're not going to give the young man who has a police record. He's 22 years old, and he has a record because he's been found with a small quantity of marijuana. Yet every other person on his job, including the supervisor, is also having a smoke on the lunch break before going back to work. The hypocrisy here.
Yes.
The hypocrisy. So what kind of culture are we creating? Because they are hard workers who perhaps would have a drink on their lunch break. They shouldn't. Particularly if you're operating machinery or doing construction, you shouldn't be drinking. But it's a culture we're creating. I am familiar with radio hosts. I've worked in radio, for goodness sake, who would have a drink on their lunch break or a smoke before going back to work. Why the double standardness? That's my question. And finally, I'll let you go, but I want to know, Mr. Miller.
Well, I don't think there should be any in a double standard. I mean, if the office has most organizations should have in their employee manual what their policy is on drinking or smoking on the job, right? And as we all know, a lot of them are the top excellence of those organizations go out and have their 2 and 3 hour lunch, and it's not they're not all drinking Perrier water, but it needs to be a policy that the organization has, and all the employees should be aware of it. I thought that we had moved in the right direction about a year ago when we redid the Rehabilitation of Offenders law, which allows for the removal of some of these charges once they have been spent, and the period by which they are spent under the law varies. Unfortunately, what we did then was, instead of making it like the old law where it was automatic, and if the police didn't do it, the police were guilty of a crime, we have now made it where the government sets up a board to which you have to apply. And many of the people who in that category don't have any idea how to access that board. And I objected to that, but I couldn't convince the government to do otherwise. But that's what we need to do.
Anything finally before we take the break, sir, you want to share?
Yes, very quickly. I realize
sir.
You're 2 minutes away from your 1 o'clock news deadline. Let me be brief. All right, but that's just one thing. Then.
Yes,
but I still wonder what sort of culture we're creating. Mr. Miller, after the break, if you would expound, sir, on the position with our governor, the allegation.
But I will.
Once we come back from the break.
Yes, I'll say something about it because I'm very perturbed about the way the whole thing is being handled.
You are very aware that it's more to just having an argument with a staff member, or it's alleged.
I am not aware of anything. That's the problem. We have all of these stories going around in certain circles, and depend what circle you're in, what the story is. And it is so unfair that the British government and the local government cannot come forward and tell the people what it is. Because certainly by this time they should have narrowed it down to what the charges are. And I am firmly of the view that if there were anything substantial, they would have published them a long time ago.
Well, thank you, sir, for bringing that to our attention. And as Mr. Miller said, maybe we can expound on it, open it up for public discussion and talk some other issues. Please join us after the news break.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
26 crashes, 13 DUI arrests. It was a busy week for the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. Police say traffic enforcement saw 13 arrests for driving under the influence between July 16th and Tuesday night alone. 10 of those arrests occurred over the weekend. Between Friday and Monday, 26 traffic collisions were also reported during that same weekend. Police say in 5 of these DUI incidents, people were arrested with blood alcohol content over twice the legal limit. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Japan has executed the remaining members of a cult behind the deadly 1995 sarin attack on the Tokyo subway. The 6 men were the last members of the Aum Shinrikyo cult on death row and were executed on Thursday. 7 others responsible for the attack, including their leader, Shoko Asahara, were put to death earlier this month. Specialist doctors in the UK will be able to legally prescribe cannabis-derived medicinal products by autumn, the Home Secretary announced. Those that meet safety and quality standards are to be made legal for patients with an exceptional clinical need. It follows high-profile cases involving children with severe epilepsy being denied access to cannabis oil. Other forms of cannabis will remain illegal. And a zoo in Egypt has denied painting black stripes on a donkey to make it look like a zebra after a photo of the animal appeared online. A student put the images on Facebook after visiting Cairo's International Garden Municipal Park. Aside from its small size and pointy ears, there were also black smudges on its face. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Hi, I'm Brother John. On behalf of the pastors and the congregation of the Wesleyan Holiness Church, we invite you to join with us, the Wesleyan Holiness Church in Georgetown, for our Sunday worship at 11 a.m., located at 174 Anthony Drive in Windsor Park. For more information on our services, please visit us or call us at 548-0874. The Wesleyan Holiness Church is a place of worship and fellowship. Come worship with us this Sunday at 11 a.m. and other weekly services.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us, and with good fortune and timing, we'll be able to enjoy the next hour or so with Honorable Ezzard Miller, the Honorable Opposition Leader. Sir, thank you very much. I must share with you. I don't know whether it's people accusing you of keeping my company and calling you bad names or what, but
it'll probably be you that they advise not to keep company with me.
Well, when it happens, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I must share that men and women, but men of your generation. Value time, and when you say, boy, be there 5 minutes, it's not 5 minutes and 30 seconds. It's probably 3 minutes, if anything, and I honor and respect that. Hopefully we as a society will get to value in time again.
But we were always raised on time, because we come from that maritime heritage society where time is very critical. There's people who come here and talk about that Caymanians this and Caymanian that, and we just sit back and do it. And who it was Goebel that says if you say something enough, if you make it a big enough lie, you say it often enough, people eventually believe you.
Yep. Well, you know what our song is, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
Right.
So it's that.
They might accuse me for standing for the wrong thing, but not only am I going to stand for something, but you're going to know what I'm standing for.
No.
So
as we take the opportunity to be able to not only extend the invitation for you to share with us as not just the representative for one of the electoral districts, not just as the elected sort of or appointed leader of the opposition, as it were, but equally, as a concerned involved citizen, we want to appreciate the position you're in to help to guide the political direction, as it were. So lead us, sir, and engage us as you were.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last caller called about what is the position with the governor, His Excellency Anwar Chowdhury. Now, and I seen a compass yesterday that they say it can take another 4 weeks now, because unfortunately his mother passed away, and again the people in the country don't seem to have known that. So I want to extend my deepest sympathy and condolences to him and his family on behalf of myself and the opposition. I was aware of it, and I tried to get a message to his wife before she left to that effect. But, we got to stop shrouding these things in secrecy, and they're allowing the rumour mill, or the Mile Road as we call it in Cayman, to destroy people based on he said, she said, and I heard somebody say that they believe something else happened, You little game you used to play at school, 10 people, and you start over with a message, and by the time you get to the end, that's exactly what's happening with this. And the FCO and the local government, I believe the people of the Cayman Islands deserve better than this. And we should know what it is the man is charged with, and because some of us may be prepared to come to his defense. If it is what the compass reports, that there's a complete by his staff because he's bullying them, everybody who comes and tries to make change and improve things, the first thing is you say they're bullying you. Because I believe that a lot of things need to change. I can tell you that the short interactions I had with him, I found him to be a breath of fresh air. Very straightforward gentleman. When I met with him, first question we asked him in the opposition was, I would like to meet with him 1 hour per month as leader of the opposition. And he instantly agreed. And turned to his whatever position he has in his in the administration, told him to go ahead and arrange that, And he arranged it, and we met the first time on the 10th of May, which was just before we went up to celebrate the coat of arms in the UK. And, I found him to be, I asked him, I says, well, sir, the first question I have to ask you is what I asked every governor that I get the opportunity. Fortunately, I didn't get to ask the one before him because she was here but never ever met with me officially, or Mr. McLean. I says, I would like to know what you would like to achieve as governor and where you would like to see the Cayman Islands go within your 3-year contract or 5-year, whatever it turns out to be. The man had no hesitation. He immediately named off the 6 things that he would like to see change, right? And I think I've said it on the radio before, but was going to tackle the crime because we shouldn't have to live in fear in our own country. I agree with that. He was going to we had to continue to support the financial industry and defend it, supported that, and he was going to deal with the LGBT, and he favored civil marriages. He was going to deal with the civil service because he didn't think that the civil service was a modern civil service. And the words he used to describe them to me is they have to take responsibility for the decisions, right? And you notice for the first time we had the deputy governor come out and apologize for the way the garbage was being handled. I don't think that should have been the deputy governor. That should have been the chief officer who's charged with the responsibility and delegated to. But he was doing something about that. The other thing was he wanted to improve the relationship with the UK, particularly business-wise, and more Caymanians to go to school in the UK. I support that. He wants to make sure that we had better disaster preparedness and that it was coordinated with the other European countries who have territories in the Caribbean, although they call it by a different name, but so they would be able to assist each other. I said to him, sir, we may disagree on the details on how you want to see these things implemented, but you have my support on those 6 things. So I found that very, very refreshing. And I think there's ample evidence that he was doing something. I can tell you, as a member of the National Security Council, without unveiling anything that's discussed there, that he organized that and he put it, and we had our meetings, and the meetings were conducted properly. We made decisions. He assigned responsibility to who was supposed to implement the decisions. And maybe that's one of the things that he bullied the staff about, was to get some of them reports done.
Mr. Miller, we have, I believe Ms. Susan shares a caller joined us. Certainly want to get a caller, but I want to ask you about it from the sort of the constitutional responsibilities of the governor, the premier, the leader of the opposition, and in relation to the National Security Council and the like, so that as a people we get a better understanding. Let's go to our phones first, though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. In our studio, our guest is Honorable Ezzard Miller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Number 1 from the block.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ezzard, I didn't hear you.
You didn't hear me?
No, I heard it in.
Oh, there you go. Good afternoon, number 2. How you doing? Number 1 is here in Cayman. You in the brackets, what is okay. But I'm number 2. Now I'm number 1 in Cayman. You number 2 down there.
You number 1 to 10.
Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, what was that third thing you read up about what the governor said here looking about this LBSG or something?
He said the country had to deal with it.
To do
from
without
the international point of view. Huh?
I said to do without it.
Well, I don't think that's the way the world is going.
Yeah, I know, because the Bible says so.
Well, there's a lot of things that the Bible says that we don't do.
Yeah, I know. Well, I said, like I seen yesterday on 27, because I put on rooster this morning, where about England Parliament was meeting and talking about they're getting ready to introduce same-sex marriage in the Cayman Islands. You tell England, or if England is hearing this, tell them us to keep it out for the royal family. We don't need that down here.
Well, but you see, this is the bigger picture here is exactly what the Premier spoke about in terms of some of the constitutional changes that we need. Because he was concerned, as is the members of the opposition, because we've agreed to join him in trying to get it, in the fact that we believe what they did for the open registry was an overreach, and our concern was exactly this, is that if they felt emboldened by succeeding in that way, that they would want to do it in many other areas.
Well, according to yesterday, they planned on doing it, and I'm asking you, is that what they're all of you fighting against?
Yeah.
I really hope so, because the only thing I've been hearing lately is that when they're fighting about this company register and everything.
Well, what we're trying to do is to get a dialogue with the United Kingdom government to make some changes to the Constitution to prevent them from doing this kind of thing for us. And it will have to be our decision locally.
Yeah, they might need a dialogue to change their brains around. You didn't say it, I did. I don't care who is hearing me, from the royal down to the lowest, the prime minister, I don't care. Keep it out there, we don't need it here. Keep your stuff out there. Okay. We don't drink Thai. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right, so thanks for sharing. Mr. Miller, if I may read this message that came through. So, if it turns out that the governor's removal came as a result of complaints about his behavior, does this mean that the same standards will be applied to our elected members and civil servants?
Well,
quite a few will be recalled then.
I would hope so. But again, I have said publicly, if we have a situation where disgruntled staff can have the governor recalled, but the members of the Legislative Assembly can't do it, even by unanimous vote, we have a serious problem in this country in terms of where the authority lies and what's best for the country, right? So, but again, if we have to wait another 4 to 6 weeks now again to find out,
Now, with that in mind, as we were talking about sort of the constitutional responsibilities, oversight, and the like, there are probably many of us, maybe because of the initial way the system operated, maybe some because of our lack of keeping up with whatever changes may have transpired over the last decade or two. Give us a perspective when it comes to the National Security Council and Cabinet.
And there's no question that the 2009 Constitution, which was brought in 2009, November 2009, moved the country substantially towards what is referred to here locally as full internal self-government. Basically, I believe that Constitution does, in fact, give us full internal self-government. The problem we have with that is that there's the caveat in it, like Section 125, which allows the United Kingdom government to make legislation, and it allows the governor to refuse to pass legislation that the Legislative Assembly has duly passed through the elected people. There's no question the Constitution is very clear in that the Cabinet is responsible for policy. Mm-hmm. And we have a unique situation, I believe, somewhat maybe a little bit confusing, in that while the governor sits in Cabinet and chairs Cabinet, he doesn't have a vote, nor does his official members have a vote in Cabinet. The Deputy Governor and the Attorney General continue to sit in the Legislative Assembly, but they don't have a vote. Right?
Now, with that, now, I mean, I was just looking, and as we speak to the Honourable Opposition Leader, I'm just looking at some correspondence between individuals, and this is where I've said to Ms. Norma, that idea about multitasking. I'm one of those people, I like to look at you when I talk and look at, this person is back and forth and sharing some perspectives, so I've got to pay attention to these things. And the view is
you got a computer and 2 phones, you're a busy person.
And if I'm not careful, I may get confused. Look at this and go,
wrong person.
Sorry, dear, that's not for you. That would be funny, eh? Not today, Bobo. But this individual is saying that, and before I say that, I believe, if I'm wrong, let me know, that you're probably one of the few publicly who say that the Constitution has moved us to almost a full internal self-government. Some have shared, no, we just made some tweaks. I think you're one of the first to say, listen, we're getting close to that. With that in mind, then, would that mean now that as far as our elected members are concerned, the governor isn't what the governor was way back when he could, reach across the room and call the EXCO member, the minister, and say, hey, what's going on here? You need to put the foot to the fire. Is it the other way around? I mean, how is it?
No, that is no the function and the
premier
results of what the ministers do is, in my view, in reading the Constitution, a function of the premier who appoints them and who can unappoint them. The governor only does the formality, but it is the premier who actually, and assigns the responsibilities. It's still formally done by the governor, but really, it's the premier who can go to the governor and say, listen, Minister X is not performing. I need to withdraw their appointment and put in Minister B, or put in,
Okay, so that's the premier, unlike the past. Okay.
No, yeah.
And the reason why we're asking is,
but remember, in the past, you were actually voted in the Legislative Assembly.
Yes.
Right, and you could actually move a motion of no confidence in one member.
Right.
Now, you have to move on the motion of confidence in the premier and the government.
So the whole government then changed.
Right.
Right. We appreciate the lesson, and it isn't because some of us don't know, it's because some of us don't know. Right? With that now, the premier, if I use the term incorrectly, can hire and fire the ministers, change around their responsibilities. In the past, the governor would say, I'm going to assign responsibility for this ministry to this person. There'll be some discussion, just so that who's more comfortable taking on this area. Now, the premier will go and say, listen, I want John here to take care of this, Tom to do that, Peter to do that, Mary to do that. That's it.
Yeah.
From that perspective, then, the governor, whoever is appointed, selected, or positioned as the governor, do we, as elected people, or the appointed civil service, have any input into who's going to be governor?
Well, I can't say for whether the deputy governor who would be acting normally as governor has an input into it, but I'm fairly certain that the elected representatives don't have any input. Like in Bermuda, for instance, I think they get 3 people with their CVs and they make a choice. We normally don't even know when they come here on their first round up, so to speak, first look and see. They come and look around, and if we happen to glimpse them somewhere about in the governor's car or something, you might say, well, one of that's her replacement or his replacement, but there's usually no announcement until way down,
Okay.
We're the last to know, so to speak.
So from the management accountability of the civil service, is that the governor or the deputy governor who's responsible?
It is the governor, but he operates through the deputy governor. But the Constitution also advances the authority of the ministers, in that under the 2009 Constitution, ministers have limited, though it may be, but I guess it would depend on the personality of the minister, have administrative authority over the staff when it comes to implementation of their policies.
Okay, I'm not going to pretend that I understand it. No, I don't want to assume that I don't.
Yeah.
But expound on that. So
for instance, when we were under the 72 Constitution, which was amended.
In 91, was it?
The several times. The minister, even up until 2009, the minister had no constitutional administrative authority, right? He would have to have gone through the deputy governor if he wanted to raise an issue of non-performance. But I don't have the Constitution in front of me, but the 2009 Constitution gives the minister certain administrative authority in relation to the implementation of their policy, which would be not normally on who's hired, who's fired. That still remains a prerogative of the governor to the deputy governor, right? But I would think that includes if a person is not implementing the policy, right, to demand that implementation take place. And normally to do that, I guess, would be to meet with him and says, well, I want this policy. This should have been done last week. Well, it hasn't been done. Well, I need it done by Friday. If it's not done, you create a system of evaluations, and then you probably would have to go and present that to the deputy governor and say, well, Mr. B is just not performing. I mean, I gave him these tasks to do, and there's no action, there's no results,
Okay. So from the administrative responsibility, the structure, and the sort of organizational layout in the ministry, where the policy is sort of coordinated and devolved, as it were. The person who used to be the head, that was called the permanent secretary, and now is chief officer. Whether that, I should not assume. Does that make a difference, or is that just a name change?
Basically a name change.
Okay. So in that ministry, the function of the ministry then would be the accountable or the controlling officer would be the chief officer, that person. The minister would go to that person and say, listen, we're talking about health, education, we need infrastructure. This is what the government is going to be, so I need you to make sure that this gets done.
I don't know how it's done today, but when I was there as we weren't called ministers, we were called member, I sat down with my chief officer, permanent secretary, usually on a Monday, and we talked about policies and where they were going, and we laid out the week's work, right? But we also reviewed the week before, and if I was expecting that a instruction or a directive be issued to the Health Services Authority to improve the rate of immunization for polio, as an example. When we meet Monday morning, that has been done. I expect that this is a copy that was issued, and so I could track things, right? And that's how I did it. I don't know how these people function, and whether they, pay that kind of attention to detail, or they just put the policies in there and they come back a year later and say what it was, All
right. Not to ask you to speak out of what may not be your remit, not to belabor the subject either, but other than hiring and firing, if the minister says, down the road, maybe another civil servant, maybe there's somebody else, that person would be really effective in helping this policy to get implemented. I want that person in here to assist in some form. From the administrative oversight, can a minister achieve that?
Well, again, it depends on how bad the minister himself can't do it. But the minister certainly, in my view, has the authority to influence a decision, which would obviously be based on the person's competence and their willingness and their eagerness to do a particular job related to a policy that needs to be done, But it would have to be the actual transfer or moving across of that individual and putting them in that position would be done by the deputy governor, either through delegation to the chief officer, the department head, or whatever.
Right. Now, some have shared that, obviously the UK operates on the unwritten constitution as opposed to the US and other places, even our own. There's this written document, whether you like it or not like it, there's something written and recorded. The UK presumably has this series of conventions. Given your sentiment that we have now, because of the 2009 constitution, moved into full internal self-government, some have shared that the convention to date was that there's more and more of involvement and oversight and sort of action of the appointed civil service, less and less of the governor and the role of the governor being involved with the day-to-day hands-on operation. Is that sort of what has transpired in the last decade?
I would think that would be a logical development to the new constitution, i.e. with the minister having some administrative authority, and also to the greater devolution of authority to chief officers and the responsibility that they are charged with. And then the performance issues would be for the deputy governor to do their...
So then if that is potential where we are now or we're getting to, and a governor comes in and says, well, wait a second now, somebody needs to be accountable. So Mr. Deputy Governor, Madam Chief Officer, whatever the title is, we need to see things happening because the country is bogged down in bureaucracy and red tape. It's this, and this. Could that then conceivably be maybe a step back as opposed to advancing?
No. It could be. It could be. I guess you could spin it that way, but I would think that the governor has not abrogated his responsibility under this constitution, or this constitution takes away his ability to make sure that they're performing at a certain standard and that good governance, international best practices are managed. So all of that would fall under that. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive.
All right.
I think where the governor has been removed is in the setting of the policy.
Right.
Prior to the 2009 constitution, the governor was largely responsible for policy on the recommendation of a minister or the premier, so to speak. But it would have been leader government business before that. No? But I think it is clear in the new constitution that the elected government, i.e. the cabinet, is responsible for policy. Now, the implementation of that policy, the standards at which it's implemented, is shared by both.
Right.
That is why I believe that the constitution has to give the ministers a certain amount of administrative authority to ensure that certain things are being addressed. Now, but the governor retains the overall responsibility to make sure that the civil service are performing to a proper standard.
A semblance of independence.
And there are many civil servants who have said to me that that for them, Governor Chaudhry was a breath of fresh air, because he was cutting out the bureaucracy and the kind of favoritism is not the right word. Kind of cliquocracy. There's certain people support certain people, and certain people object to certain people getting anything along with them because they had a problem with them, or their evaluation wasn't good or something. So many civil servants have said to me that they thought that he would have been a good thing for the civil service.
All right. Well, Mr. Miller, when we come back, we invite you to continue to share with us. The phone lines are open if you want to ask a question or add a contribution. Please stay tuned.
I just came through the airport, so I want to talk a couple of things about what the disaster that is and what it is now, overspent by $10-15 million. But I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes going in and out of it.
All right. Well, I want to hear what you're going to say. Join us when we come back.
Babe, not tonight. I need to be rested for all-day meetings tomorrow.
What are you talking about? I was almost asleep.
You keep poking me, and I can't sleep.
That's the mattress spring I keep telling you about. Not me. We really need to get a new mattress.
Tossing and turning, back hurting, can't sleep? It might be time to turn in your old mattress and go to bed with a new one. Browse the huge mattress showroom at Brand Source Home Gallery and pick the perfect mattress today. With mattresses to suit every budget, Brand Source Home Gallery stocks a wide selection of sizes and styles like pillow top and gel memory foam. So stop tossing and turning and sleep better tonight with a new mattress from Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Pure and cleaner.
Now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 4 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Centennial Towers, West Bay, and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive through, rain or shine. Free pickup and delivery. Call Puritan Cleaners 949-7104. You feel good when you look good.
Under the distinguished patronage of the Jamaican Consulate, Crystal Promotion presents Jamaica's 56th Independence Celebration in the form of Roots and Culture. Saturday, August 4th at Lion Center. Performing live, former member of the I-Threes, Marcia Griffiths.
I shall sing.
Glenn Washington.
Let's rise and shine and give Jah the glory.
Professor Nuts. Anthony Malvo. Andrew Priest and MC Linkage from Linkage Radio, New York City. Gates open 6 p.m., showtime 7 p.m. Admission 25 pre-sale, 30 at the gate. It's Roots and Culture, Saturday, August 4th at Lion Center. Celebrating Jamaica's 56th year of independence. Sponsored by J. Ed Money, Radio Cayman, and Hot 104.1 FM.
I see the fire spreading. It's getting hotter and hot.
Attention construction industry. Get affordable builders public liability and workmen's compensation insurance today with FIS Insurance Brokers, offering combined annual premiums starting as low as $700. Policies are required for registration with the Cayman Islands Builders Board. Contact FIS Insurance Brokers today for full details and to sign up for your policies ahead of the Builders Board deadline on July 31st. Call FIS Insurance Brokers on 623-5616.
Missing the deadline will require applicants to sit mandatory board examinations.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Hi, I'm Brother John. On behalf of the pastors and the congregation of the Wesleyan Holiness Church, we invite you to join with us, the Wesleyan Holiness Church in Georgetown, for our Sunday worship at 11 a.m., located at 174 Anthony Drive in Windsor Park. For more information on our services, please visit us or call us at 548-0874. The Wesleyan Holiness Church is a place of worship and fellowship. Come worship with us this Sunday at 11 a.m. and other weekly services.
One TradeX knows there's more than one way to invest. One TradeX is the Cayman Islands' only fully licensed online broker-dealer, offering discount trading services to individual investors and traders, hedge fund managers, and family offices. One TradeX has the most competitive online trading prices of any offshore broker worldwide, with no custody or management fees, free demonstration accounts, and no charge to open an account with a $5,000 minimum deposit. Trade stocks, options, futures, bonds, and Forex. Learn more and open your free demo account today at OneTradeX.com. OneTradeX, the Cayman Islands' #1 choice for online brokerage. OneTradeX is licensed to conduct securities investment business by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, Honorable D. Ezzard Miller, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, is our guest. And thanks so much, sir, for not just your time, but for sharing as candidly, as diplomatically and respectfully, but giving the public a chance to either hear directly or, as you said, pose a question. So thanks again.
Before we leave the governor, I just want to tell the public, somebody sent me a copy of a petition, Bring Back Governor Chaudhry, which I have read, and I certainly endorse the whereases in the thing, and I would like to publicly encourage every person in the Cayman Islands that can get a copy of this to sign it, because I believe that the FCO needs to know what the Caymanian position is with His Excellency Chaudhry.
Yeah.
So I certainly go sign it and encourage one of my close friends to sign it, and I think we need to get a couple of thousand signatures on this ASAP.
I wonder if civil servants would be excluded from signing that.
Well, not according to the ruling that was handed down by the past deputy governor.
Okay.
It's
a question I could ask, but it was asked of me, and I didn't give a definitive answer. So there's a petition being circulated.
Yeah, and I would encourage as many people as the public as possible to sign it, because I think we need to make representation based on our knowledge and our interaction with His Excellency Governor Chaudhry when he was here, because I haven't heard a lot of people complain about their interactions with him. And I'm talking about people who met him at a supermarket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who met him on the street. He come to their churches and he sit down afterwards and talk to them for hours, right?
Yeah. Now, Mr. Miller, before you share what you said you were going to share in relation to the airport, you said just travel. I know you heard the caller who was sharing. Let me read to you almost verbatim comments from one of our listeners, sharing, was referring to the later caller who was talking about the airport and traveling and so on. Says, I'm glad that woman brought up. I feel the same way, and also brought it to the attention of a politician at the time, and said, Caymanians don't want the job, according to the politician, because it's only $4 an hour, and they can't stand presumably bad treatment. Right now, there are many who have indicated that as they go through the airport, there's mixed feelings about it.
Oh, yeah. None of mixed feelings with me. I mean, I get upset beyond, I can barely contain myself when I go into security and there's not a Caymanian in sight. And I'm being pressed and harassed and everything else by these people from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at a very minimum, and we have suggested, and as I recall, the Minister for Airports, Honourable Moses Colonel, had undertaken that there are going to be changes to the personnel who are responsible for security. I mean, how can you really expect some young man, I mean, these people look like they're in their early 20s, if not their teens, right? To handle people with the kind of respect that Caymanians do, and how Caymanians respect them. And then they're just transient. They're just here for a paycheck. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they shouldn't be in those kinds of positions.
I was in a company some time ago where I don't want to call him an elderly gentleman, but he's certainly, my senior. And if I didn't have respect for him, I think I would be disrespectful to my upbringing. So he's going through the airport. So one of these younger lads, he said, in his words, was frisking him. So he said to the young man, trying to make light of the situation, and because he felt uncomfortable, apparently his hand had went a little bit higher than he thought was appropriate. He said, well, young man, if you're going to get that friend, at least introduce yourself.
Right.
And the fellow looked at him like,
He probably didn't understand what he said.
Well, but that was the thing, because he felt, he's standing there, tell me what you need me to do, hands open and whichever, and the guy is doing the pat down, and, some people check twice and then check again. And many people don't like that. We'll be compliant, but there needs to be a certain level of decorum.
Well, remember they used to do it with a van.
Yeah.
They used to have an electronic van that they didn't need to touch you. Now all of a sudden they got to, put a death grip on you and move the circulation in your arms and legs while they're frisking you, right? And I don't know, it just seems...
Well...
And I think most Caymanians feel the way I feel is that if they were Caymanians doing it, it would be more acceptable to us. Yeah. And you would have some kind of confidence in the fact that you believe that they would would have some commitment to the country.
Yeah. Well, something that I I've heard from a number of people, Caymanians and frequent visitors are like, I can't say that I've seen this because I don't board the aircraft that much, right? Mm-hmm. When they're in line, a few, and I said a few because these are people that I think pay attention. What they have observed, their perception, is that those who are being sort of, one used the word singled out, another used the word targeted for this border search or whatever it is, pat down, are visitors and some Caymanians, the ones that do not necessarily look like they would have anything to hide. One woman said there was she presumed to be a visitor. Now, whether she was here on a work permit, but she looked, like she would have been a visitor on vacation returning home. According to this lady, young, fairly attractive young lady, but not necessarily to dress for what she thought one should dress when they travel. Described you off the break what she was wearing. Suffice it to say that she thought if she was hiding something, she would have to be very good at it, right?
Yeah.
The woman who was doing the pat down was not only inappropriate to this lady's point, but was not necessarily professional. And she thought, what message is that sending to our visitors as they leave? Right? And I've reflected on that a number of times to wonder, are we conscious of that? Now, I want us to be safe. I want our airline to be able to take off safely and no one on board to do anything untoward. But equally, is it deliberate? Are we deliberately trying to sour the experience of our visitors?
Well, both of us would hope not. But if that's the effect, it doesn't matter whether it's deliberate or unintentionally. Mm-hmm. It is just an area that I need to be improved. But I traveled through the airport yesterday, the departure side in the morning, and through the arrival side today. And, the opposition has asked at least 3 times in verbally and at least once, if not twice, in writing, for a tour of the facilities, for us to understand what they're doing, because what they're doing on the surface does not make any sense. Here's some of the things. When we went over there to meet the governor, right, the members of the opposition looked at where the trolleys, how to pull up to take out the bags, right? And if you look at the overhang, right, the water coming off the overhang is going to run right down the middle of the trolley. So I spoke to some of the baggage handlers and said, Mr. Meaton, how right you are. That's exactly what happened. I'm driving the trolley. If I stop there, if it's raining, the water comes right down my head. Right? Again, come on, man. Simple old Caymanian common sense says that roof need to be extended substantially beyond the thing so that your suitcases and the people handle them don't get wet. You look at this fancy whatever it is they got out in the front there with all this white metal up in the air. I assume they're going to put some kind of a cloth or canvas or vinyl cover. To me, it's tilted the wrong way, right? The water is open to the wind, the northeast wind, so the rain got blowing you when you get into the car, right? And they got all this over the sidewalk, so that the water's going to drain down on you when you try and get to the terminal. And even the one in front of the actual main door, which again, I'm very concerned that huge departure check-in area looks to me it's only going to have one entry. The old airport, as I recall, had at least 4. Right? You could almost go in through one to get to whichever airline you was going. It's not like that now. There is one manual door that only half would open, because I went to that one by mistake. I thought, But then further down, there seems to be an automatic door where you come in and then you sound like in the middle. Again, I would question the safety issue of that if something happens, that how many people get trapped trying to get out through that one door. The restrooms, again, seem to be at the wrong end of the hall, right? They're at the western end of the hall, right? When they should be where you walk in, you would get to the restrooms on your way to security and out into the waiting gates, not have to leave the farthest gate and walk all the way to the end of the hall. When I came through customs immigration today, I noticed that the Caymanians is the one that are in the furthest line. Right, you got to walk all the way around all the other people, right, to get. Sometimes you wonder if you're going in the right direction. It's so far, right? You almost need a GPS and a compass. When we coming through now, they remove the forms and all that, so we should be the first one, and you go right through. But no, you got to go past all the other immigration, get to the one furthest down. It's for the Cayman Islands. Why we do these things to punish our own people, I don't know. Again, the restroom at the end of customs, the old one the day before, you will recall, had one little basin and one little toilet, and two people couldn't get in the place same together. This one only has one urinal, and we're supposedly now we're this airport is supposed to be able to take care of over 1 million people a year, 1.5 million people a year. How? The nice waiting area that they have for you to wait in air condition now, when people come with the customs, again, has no restroom facilities in it, right? And I'm not asking about, I was there, and my 3-year-old daughter wanted to go to the restroom. My wife had to come out and walk somewhere out in the grass piece to get to a temporary one. So there doesn't seem to be no provision. I mean, these are common sense. Any airport you go to, you get to the restroom before you get to immigration. Several of them, right? You get the airport, their restrooms in the customs area. I don't understand. And then this everlasting steel structure they put over the middle. What a colossal waste of money, right? I mean, you look up at it and you have to. What are we doing? The side that is facing north towards West Bay seems, and if you look at the drawing, that's going to have these huge 3 triangular pieces of glass, which is supposedly, somebody tells me, I don't know if they were making fun or not, represent Grand Cayman, Cayman Bracken, Little Cayman, right? Because they're 3 different sizes. What's the functionality of it? How much is this thing costing to build with no value to the traveling public? They say it's supposed to look like a turtle shell. I don't know where they found them turtles. Because, again, the even if they had to put in Calipi onto the back of him, we should be able to get to the airport without getting wet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when and you walk through Calipi, maybe a good idea. But my disappointment is that we're spending all this money for this arch in the middle of 2, which is the arrivals area and the departure area, right? And I don't see any functionality. I asked people, is there going to be a second story up there? Is there going to be elevators that you can get up there? Nobody seems, apparently not. I mean, apparently we're building this new airport without 2 things: no elevators and no jetways.
And some say no scope for expansion, but anyway. When we come back from the break, I see Susan's waving her arms. I know she's at traffic control, but she's at the boards. When we come back, we'll take our calls. We'll speak continually with Mr. Miller. Please stay tuned.
When it comes to designing a kitchen or a bath, functionality and style should be at the center of your design. Declutter, improve lighting, change cabinets, increase storage, and show your style with the help from experts at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 20% on the finest cabinets and fixtures this July for Kitchen and Bath Month at Brand Source. The design team can help create the perfect personal spa retreat and help design your functional kitchen, whether designing from scratch or renovating your home. Stop by Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, to save 20% on kitchen and bath cabinets and fixtures.
Do you know that conditions may change suddenly in an emergency and you may have to leave at a moment's notice? When a hurricane threatens, you should have a grab-and-go survival kit. This kit should include your personal identification and other vital documents, which should be sealed in a watertight pouch or container. For more tips and information, visit the Hazard Management Cayman Islands office or caymanprepared.ky. This hurricane tip is brought to you by Hazard Management Cayman Islands and Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Why rush around paying bills when you can pay most of your bills online? Cayman National offers an extensive list of service providers. Visit CaymanNational.com and log on to our personal or business online banking systems. Not an online banking customer? Contact their customer support team on 949-8300 for more information.
King Sports Center's Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 3rd to August 3rd. Now in its 14th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids aged 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can stay cool while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, email kings.brebanks@gmail.com. That's kings.brebanks@gmail.com. Or call 946-KING, like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram, or call 946-5464. King's Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Attention construction industry. Get affordable builders public liability and workmen's compensation insurance today with FIS Insurance Brokers, offering combined annual premiums starting as low as $700. Policies are required for registration with the Cayman Islands Builders Board. Contact FIS Insurance Brokers today for full details and to sign up for your policies ahead of the Builders Board deadline on July 31st. Call FIS Insurance Brokers on 623-5616.
Missing the deadline will require applicants to sit mandatory board examinations.
Under the distinguished patronage of the Jamaican Consulate, Michelle T. and Friends, in association with JN Money Transfer, present the Jamaica 56th Independence Celebration Gospel Festival, Sunday, August 5th at the Lion Center. Come worship with Marvia Providence, George Banton, Adrian Cunningham, Sean Warren, Women of Purpose, and Michelle T. with her new release. Also featuring Roderick Brown, Laverne Welcome, Earl Bryan, and JJZ Dance Ministry. MC, the Gospel Vibes Master, Delingo. $25 pre-sold at Funky Tanks, J&M Electronics, Fixit Celltronics, and JN Money Transfer. $30 at the gates. Showtime 6 p.m. Gates open at 5. Jamaica 56th Independence Celebration Gospel Festival, Sunday, August 5th at the Lion Center.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. And in the studio, Honorable Opposition Leader, Honorable Ezzard Miller is our guest. As we go to our callers, let me just read this. Please thank Mr. Miller for informing publicly his endorsement of the petition for our governor to be reinstated. Mr. Miller, we got a caller online.
Yeah.
Welcome, you're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling and Mr. Miller.
Blessings. Good afternoon.
It's good to hear you on, Mr. Miller, and I'm always tentatively listening.
Okay, thank
when
you.
You're on. Yes, sir. I have 3 things for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know I am concerned, and I know most of Cayman is concerned. Is there a reason why CUC have to put up on their bill every summer?
There's no reason. There's a contractual obligation that the governor has to allow them to increase their rates based on a certain formula. I think it's called RCAM, right? And when that formula was originally put in place, the rates went down substantially. Unfortunately, because that happened in the same time period that the price of fuel went up so high that all the savings then were add up in the cost of fuel, and the customers didn't see a benefit. But the price increases. I don't think it's deliberately done for the summer, but it is done. I think it's after when their annual accounts are audited and stuff like that, and then they have to, if they want to increase their rate, they have to go through the call off reg now, and there's a formula that off regs use. I think it's called RCAM, that they have to fill in that stuff and calculate whether a rate increase can be authorized or not. But they can't do it without government approval.
But I mean, how much more government expect its people, we the people, how much more they expect us to take, Mr. Miller. The mortgages has gone up. Do you realize it's 3 or 4 times since January, I think it is.
Yeah, with the increases. And every time they do that, they do a new agreement, and you got legal fees and everything else. They're milking us to death, but what we need is for the government to get busy and draft proper mortgage legislation to protect Caymanians and home ownership.
Look
and also to protect the banks.
Yes. Look at the other day, Mr. Miller. So much people between last year and the first 6 months in this year, so many people were losing their homes because no job, not working, can't afford to pay, and now they're going up on it. My mortgage has gone up over almost $500. Now, if you can't, you are barely scraping to pay your regular fees. How in the world someone is going to pay $500 more and with no salary increase? The government do not have nothing in order for the people to give their people, which is the Cayman Islands people, a raise. I mean, there is people that haven't got an increase in 5, 6, 8, 10 years. How the government expect its people to survive in Cayman? What are we supposed to do?
Well, you know, the government needs the civil servants, our contracts and their rate of salary is tied to the cost of living index, right? And while the civil service has not adhered to that as religiously as it should, there was no reason why they couldn't have. The money was there; they just used the money for other things. But one of the things that the government, I believe, needs to do is they need to encourage the private sector to also increase their salaries in some kind of relationship with the cost of living index as a policy. And I think the government has the authority to put that in place. Because in many instances it is the very private sector that is driving the increases in the cost of living index, because they're wanting to make more money or their cost of goods are gone up. But we need to get some kind of relationship. We need to have some methodology put in place which makes the private sector and the government sector increase salaries in some relationship to the cost of living, because what's happening is the cost of living is going up almost weekly, although the economic and statistics units may report something else. Every time I go to a market, I seem to be getting less and less for more money, because for too long now, salaries have lagged behind, especially for Caymanians in the workplace, and something needs to be done to address that.
Exactly, Mr. Miller. Something really needs to be done.
And it's not rocket science, you know. It don't make them believe now that you need to bring in 15 consultants to do this, right?
Right.
We know what the cost of living is, and whether we do it by coercion and meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, because, you know, they're always willing to tell me what I can't do. But I don't see them coming up with too many things that we should do to help Caymanians. You know, we had a consumer protection law here that was floated a couple of months ago, and you notice how they killed that off in a hurry, right? That went up like Elijah chariot. They even had buried that one. You won't find that down Dixie. That's gone, right? But those are the kind of things that's the role of government, right? And sometimes you have to take these special interests on when they object to what is being done in the best interests of the country and its people.
All right, Ma. Anything finally you want to share on?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, Mr. Miller, because the people, the Cayman people, are crying out. They are crying. They're hurting. Everyone is hurting. My last point I wanted to share, they cannot have, or they won't have Caymanians in the airport because us poor Caymanians cannot go and work for $4 or $5 an hour, Mr. Miller. They put it that the overseas, the minimum wage is $6. Those people, I can tell you for a fact, because I know it, those people are being paid $5 an hour, and they have to be up sometime from 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. How can we go there to do to work for $5 an hour?
No, but again, that is the government can do something about that, because the government taxes every airline ticket that you buy. There's a security, there's a cost on that for security, and that is a lot of money that you should be able to pay a decent wage, or if it is contracted out, the money that the contractor is getting should be such that he can pay a decent wage to Caymanians to work there.
All right.
Because they're charging the public about already. You're not getting it for free.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mohan, for that. Respectful, let's pause to go to our headline news. When we come back, we'll continue the wonderful company of Mr. Ezzard. Please stay tuned.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police investigate a wounding and abduction in Georgetown this morning. Just after 3 a.m. today, police and emergency services responded to a report of an assault and abduction. According to police, a man went into a Birch Avenue home in Prospect and confronted the man and woman inside. He stabbed the man and proceeded to assault the woman. Authorities say they all knew each other. The 28-year-old Bordentown man is now under arrest on suspicion of assault, abduction, aggravated burglary, and the theft of a vehicle. He is currently in police custody. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, the Greek defense minister has told the BBC illegal construction contributed to one of the country's worst ever wildfire disasters. He said building by residents between wooded areas was a crime that had resulted in blocking escape routes. At least 83 people died, and search teams fear they will find further victims as dozens more are missing. More than 16,000 people are thought to have been displaced by floods following heavy monsoon rains in Myanmar, also known as Burma. The flood began at the weekend and worst hit the country's eastern Cayman state on the border with Thailand. The summer monsoon has brought heavy rain across most of Southeast Asia, the Philippines and Japan. And UFC fighter Conor McGregor has pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct in a deal with prosecutors to avoid jail time. McGregor has faced multiple criminal charges stemming from an altercation in April with other fighters. As part of his deal, he is required to undergo anger management treatment. The plea will not affect his U.S. work visa. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us as we invite you to call and share your thoughts and continue with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Ezzard Miller, sharing his thoughts and making the contributions. Now, Mr. Miller, let me see if I can read this particular WhatsApp that has been sort of just sent through. And those who are listening certainly appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. This one says, I totally agree 10,000% with that caller. I've been working with the fund services, offshore banking for the past 12 years. It says, and I have only received a $35 pay increase on 2 occasions. So much for being a dedicated employee, right? This happens to the Caymanians in here who are not a fan of jumping from job to job and receiving the biggest fight from bullying from higher-ups, unfortunately. And not to mention, they're all on permit. Now, the challenge, Mr. Miller, that many are facing, and I read that as I look at a couple of the sentiments that were sent to us earlier from individuals who are saying that when it comes to employment, not just a summer job that this school leaver, the Caymanian school student on summer can't get, whether it's simple retail or otherwise, to the returning Caymanian college grad, to others. One person shared, as we heard, in the workplace, well, the fellow who has a spliff, is being chastised and perhaps fired, but his supervisors and co-workers can partake as and when they wish. Words were used, discrimination, double standards and the like. I want to wait on that perhaps later, but let's join our next caller. That'll be fine. 1-800-534-82.
The government office just issued a thing on the show.
Yeah. We'll read that later now. Let's go to the phones.
I can read it publicly. If they don't want,
Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Not too bad. Just appending to what Mr. Miller was saying about the airport. I think if you go back, I couldn't find it. Not to say that it's not there now, but I couldn't find the original animation video that they published for the new airport when it was first announced. But what first struck me when I saw it is it had no covered walkways in the north face of the building. Didn't see anything to the back, but certainly I knew that it didn't have anything to the north face of the building, which struck me as very odd. And I mentioned it to the minister. And then, it has walkways. And I said, well, it doesn't show it on the animation. And animations are created from the actual plans that were drawn for the project. So then when I saw what they've done to remedy that problem, which is these, steel frames which will invariably have canvas on them, which I understand that some of them have been damaged, which is why they're still not up, because they started to put them up back in April. And I just scratched my head and wondering, well, what were they thinking when they did that? The only consolation I take on it is that they could possibly still be used maybe at the port, because they're up so high that the cruise ship could dock up next to it and still be under it.
But they're not going to. But I mean, there's no protection that you can possibly get driving up there.
But here's the thing. You're talking about.
But you're not. I'm not an architect. But tell me something. Isn't it normal that when you do things like that, you try to move the water away from the building and not water towards the building? Because it's my understanding that the last little rain we had, the departure lounge was flooding under the doors.
Correct. That is correct. And you also factor in the direction of the prevailing winds, which would also give you the rain. And so,
if they turned them around, the water would be draining into the extra lane of traffic when you would be driving in the rain with your windshield wipers on.
But it doesn't even offer shade to the people that stand there.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a total waste of money.
It's and this is where I believe all of these cost overruns are coming in. I actually just got back from a 3-week vacation in Europe and walking around. I had to stand in some significant lines, and so people are. And what struck me is that I heard, we're in Cayman. We need to do something about these lines, these cruise ships, because it's horrible what they're doing to these passengers. But let me tell you something. I went to Paris, and every line I stood in, for the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame and all these other ones, hour 45 minutes to 2.5 hours waiting, and there ain't one piece of shade anywhere. Right now, that doesn't make it right. It clearly means that they haven't taken care of this whole thing. But what also struck me when I saw that is that anybody who's selected to design or who's in charge of overseeing that design of any facility that involves the public or tourists or anything else should be made to walk some of these places and stand out in that sun and actually feel what it is the person going to have to go through if this thing isn't done right. I bet you when these architects and designers from the frigid north come down here, then they realize what they're designed for. But that's the problem when you get North American architects, and they're the ones who want to take all the credit, so they don't take any input from the locals. And for whatever reason, it just boggles my mind why we have people in the civil service who just cannot accept anything from our guys. It always has to be done by some big guys. Instead of hiring us and then us soliciting professional consultants, it's the other way around. But it's just, to me, it's just nuts. I don't understand why they're not following the global trend, and this is the global trend going on, where the government, where the airports authority are taking over even the rental of space for the rental cars.
Mm-hmm.
All they had to do is a multi-story car park over the existing car park that's there now. And so it can have a double use to it. One, it provides covered shelter for people getting into rental cars. Mm-hmm. Two, it generates revenue for the airport's authority. And three, in the event of a hurricane, government can park all their vehicles up in there and they will be protected from flood surge instead of putting it up by Bobby Thompson way out in the open.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, and it's no-brainers. There's no way they can lose money on it simply because they would make it as a requirement, as they do in the U.S., all throughout all the airports in the U.S., saying, if you want to rent cars to our tourists, you have to rent space from these buildings there.
That's all.
And it also ensures tourist safety in terms of returning vehicles, etc., etc.
But you're a good architect. The other thing I don't understand is what's the functionality of this curved roof in the middle of the two functioning buildings? You have the departure lounge on one side and the arrivals lounge on the other, and then we put in this huge superstructure in the middle that has to be costing probably in the region of 60% of the total cost of the airport.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it as high as that, but it's certainly costing a significant amount. But it's pretty much boils down to pure aesthetics. And here's the other thing: isn't the roof planned to be fully covered with solar panels? We need to drive down the cost of doing business. Let's do solar panels. Why are we constantly refusing? I mean, we're not even asking them to think outside the box anymore. No. We're just asking them to be logical.
Yeah. I agree. I was. Well, we have been there. I can understand now why the minister wouldn't agree for the opposition to do a tour of the facility or even to show us the plans, because these are the kind of questions we would have been asking, which would have been very disturbing to them. But that ministry has a qualified architect working in it.
Absolutely.
You're telling me that the minister name consulted him? Because I'm sure he would have pointed out some of these things to him.
Well, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, too, maybe the gentleman wanted to maintain his job and didn't want to rock the boat, because you know what happens when you speak frankly, right?
Well, all I know is people get upset, but they get over it because I ain't going away. I've been doing that all my life.
And likewise, but you and I both are proving that we're not.
Oh, well, I mean, you have to suffer a little bit economically, but I prove that you can live without that too.
Precisely. So, but my last point is that I know I didn't see it, and in fairness, I will say they're not done yet. But I know that when I was traveling and for the last 5 years, that I actually would have a station that I can literally open up my laptop and sit down at, and as recent as maybe for a month and a half ago, I was in Tampa Airport, and they literally have lounge areas.
And they have several. The support poles have all these things for charging your phones and your laptops, and you can sit down right around it. And
about desks where traveling businessmen can sit down, open up the laptop, and work while killing time, because sometimes
I didn't see any in the departure lounge when I went through.
I didn't see anything either, and I'm going, This is all been in place now for the last 5+ years.
But I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine if the government is messing up that project, which is at the very most a quarter of what the piers in Georgetown Harbour cost? Can you imagine the mess they can make out there? Could they move it from a $50 million project to a $200 million project?
Well, as the saying goes. But anyway, gentlemen, I thought I'd just throw that in there. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, man. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Sir. Mr. Miller, Ms. Susan reminds us of a final break. Let's take that. Join our callers. Get some points from you.
I'm spending more time on break than I'm spending talking. Radio came on making plenty of money off me, man.
Yeah, well, you can share that press release as well, huh? All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We're building resilience one pipeline at a time. For the past 35 years, the Water Authority has been working to build a reliable piped water distribution network to better serve you in both fair and stormy weather. Visit our website or follow us on social media for useful hurricane preparedness tips and important updates in the case of an extreme weather event. This hurricane preparedness tip is brought to you by Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
Radio Cayman invites you, our listeners, to join us on Sunday, July 29th for a live broadcast from the Cotton Tree Bay Church in Cayman Brac. Radio Cayman will bring the local morning worship service to you starting live at 11 a.m. on 89.9 FM and 93.9 FM on the Brac and Little Cayman. Radio Cayman, celebrating 42 years of service to the people of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's premier health show,
For the Health of It, with Tara Bush,
is brought to you on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. Proudly brought to you by the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association. For more information on how you can become a member or the benefits of the CICSA, please visit www.cicsa.ky.
For the Health of It, with Tara Bush.
It's hard. Being a parent is demanding, not to mention trying to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. I needed help, and the Ministry of Education was able to provide it for my child to attend preschool. From one parent to another, if you need the financial help, submit your application today to find out if you qualify for preschool funding assistance.
If you have a child who is 3 years old but not yet 4 by September the 1st, you may be eligible to receive funding. Application forms can be collected from the Government Administration Building, the Department of Education Services, all early childhood centers, and may be found on the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.ky. If you need more information about this government assistance program, please do email ecap@gov.ky. That's ECAP@gov.ky, or call 244-5724.
The following is a public service announcement. The Council of the Justices of the Peace Association is pleased to advise the public that general document signing services will be provided 3 days a week in the front lobby of the Government Administration Building. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon, the following services will be provided by volunteer justices: witnessing a signature on an authentic document, certifying a document as a true copy of the original once the original has been provided, witnessing a signature and completing the portion on a Cayman Islands or British passport application, including acknowledging that the photo provided is a true likeness. Please note, a JP must have known the passport applicant for no less than 2 years before signing the application. Identification cards must be presented, and persons seeking the services of the justices must ensure that proper attire is worn when visiting the Government Administration Building.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today, 949-8037, or you can call us on the toll-free line as we speak to Honorable Ezzard Miller. Certainly appreciate you sharing the afternoon with us to some extent, sir. Their calls online. Is that lunch being delivered, Miss Susan? She's like, okay, it's both. So, you want lunch or you want calls? Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for sharing with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Greetings to you, Sterling, and your guests.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Not too bad. How are you?
Excellent.
I'm fine as silk and tough as brown cotton.
Yeah. But I'm calling. I just want to make a little spiritual speech here.
Okay.
The temple of the Most High begins with the human body, which houses our life. The essence of our existence are in bondage today because they approach spirituality through religion, provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans which were supposed to help people to grow spiritually due to human imperfection. Religion has become corrupted, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or idolatry. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, as was given by the Most High of creation. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other as the essence of our existence. It embodies our culture through identity, nationhood, and destiny. A people without a nation that they can really call their own is a people without a soul. Is our nation and is in spiritual and physical bondage because their leaders are turning to outside forces for solutions to problems which everything need is within. So, you know what they killed John the Baptist for? The truth. You all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we cannot change anything. Jesus Christ clearly said that before one of his words fall to the ground, the whole earth will perish. So we must not look for man for any solution. We must look to our Creator. Because if you check Revelation chapter 13, that will tell you everything. Okay? That the rich and the poor and the small and the this and the that will take the mark of the beast. This is the new world order that we are living into today.
Well, I certainly appreciate you sharing. Thank you very much for that spiritual message. Ms. Susan, is there another call in the queue? All right, not just yet. Well, when that one rejoins us, we'll take that one as well. Mr. Miller?
Well, the governor's office has just sent out a letter, but it's only addressed to members of the LA. So, although it's not marked confidential, I would assume that it's not for publication. But there's nothing in there that explains anything.
Oh, well,
that I can read.
When and if it becomes something that is in the public domain, we'll become cognizant of it.
Yeah.
But with great respect, though, Mr. Miller, we, as a society generally, perhaps do not have a clear and full and proper understanding of the workings of our constitution, of our government structure. You always champion for better civics education in the schools. But despite that, it seems that the public, not just the voting public, is consciously aware and wanting to know. Not because they're curious and like to gossip, but they want to know what's going on. So this issue with respect to the governor, the public is asking questions. As a result of maybe a lack of knowledge, there's a lot of fodder and innuendo, speculation, rumor, conjecture, what have you. But in the absence of information, people are going to, you don't need any help.
This is what I was saying earlier. This is the unfortunate part of it.
Mm.
But I mean, we treat our own nail as bad. What's the position with Mr. Raed Al-Carter from DEH?
Mm.
Right? We've allowed, I mean, I understand that there may be some consideration never bringing him back, but I certainly wouldn't want to go back after all the stuff that was put out on the street and, and whatnot. So why don't we deal with these things in real time, factually, right? How could we hamper the investigation in either of those cases if we came out and said, this is what you're charged for? This is the complaint, right? I mean, how some of the people shredding paper, right? Or and in the absence of, as this most recent letter does, just add speculation to it, instead of saying, well, the only thing we can do now is assume because the government has not denied it. That the article that came out in the Compass, i.e., that it was a result of completes from the governor's office staff and maybe the house staff as well. Well, I can tell the public, because this happened to Ezzard, right? And I can tell you it wasn't, I was shocked. I went I went down to the governor's house because I was concerned that the governor's wife and children was here, and I don't know if they had any friends based on what was being circulated in the public thing. So I drove down to the government house and asked the police at the gate if I would like to speak to Mrs. Chaudhry, and but I would like him to go with me because I didn't want to be accused of anything. And he said he couldn't do that. He had to call the house manager. I said, that's fine. The police did his job. He went and called the house manager. And when he came back, he said, that's the lady coming down the driveway. So I walked up the driveway and I met her halfway. And I said, good evening, man, because it was 2 o'clock. It was about 1:45 in the day. I would like to speak to Miss Sheldon. I'd like you to accompany me because I just want to. And her response to me was, well, she don't get up till 2 o'clock in the day, and they're Muslims and they're celebrating something, Ramadan or something, and they're up, they sleep all day and they're up all night. You better come back 2 o'clock in the morning. Now this is the house manager talking, not to Ezzard Miller, but to the lead opposition in the Cayman Islands. The animosity, I was shocked. I was taken aback. I did not expect that kind of reaction. Right? I says, well, that's fine. I don't want to disturb her, but the only purpose I'm here is I wanted to give her this business card with this number on it, 3275757, and if she has an issue and she needs something done for herself or her family or her children, feel free to call me, and I would be willing to help whatever I can. The woman jacked a piece of thing out of my hand, turned her back, and walked off. Right? I had never been so disrespected, right, in a government facility in my life. Right? I mean, the whole mannerism, the whole attitude of the individual was just plain terrible. I mean, what business of mine it is to make those kind of comments, right? All she had to do was tell me that, she wasn't available, but can I take a message or something and be respectful about it, right? But I mean, it was terrible.
I think we have a call. Number to call if you want to is 949-8037. 949-8037 is the 7-digit number if you want to call and share your thoughts with us. But Mr. Miller, I think that's part of the challenge, right, that we're looking at, and with so much, as you shared, whether it's with the civil servants, department heads, whether it's the
and I mean, again, okay, let's go back to the Mr. Carter, Rydell Carter. If the man was being terminated for lack of performance, for bad manager, whatever, tell him. That's it, because it was quite clearly, you had many instances documented where I thought he didn't perform, so I'm sure they could have documented the same thing. And you say, look, this, we're terminating your contract. Here's your yellow slip. Come back and see us when you get 65 and get your pension. And you tell the public, and these are the reasons we did it for. You don't leave it for speculation, and every time you call, right, nobody can say anything, but it's getting worse and worse and worse,
Mr. Miller, we have a caller joining us, sir. Speaking to Honourable Ezzard Miller.
Because the truth can come out,
What they say, doing the dark comes out of the light. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. And let me first of all say thank you guys for the opportunity for persons to express themselves and to get some answers. I am calling today actually because my heart, soul, mind, body, everything is concerned with John Gray High School. Our high school here in Georgetown. I can only speak for Georgetown because this is where my daughter go. We have Clifton Hunter, which is our government combined high school. Now, Mr. Miller, I don't know how much you know and what is going on with the expansion of the school, or for instance, right now, even with upgrading the school. We know the school is bursting at the seams. It has more students there than it was built for.
Mm-hmm.
The last that we heard on the school was that, the new school should not be finished within the next 3 years or something like that. Personally, I think it's a conspiracy against our students, our Caymanian children, against their education, and not getting proper facilities or space that they that would conduct good learning for them. They're all crap. The other thing, no books. It is so much stuff that is going on with that school. Can you tell the John public or me for one, what exactly do you know that is going on with this school right now? Because honestly, I am to the point of hiring someone to put rock in front of those gates, and they will not open that school for the new school year.
Okay.
Well, I am dumbfounded by the fact that the parents will let the government get away with what's being done at John Gray. John Gray High School was started, 6 years ago, right? They just spent a lot of money on a gymnasium, which is really nice for the kids and everything else. They have 2 other buildings there that are basically complete, unoccupied. The last discussion that we were allowed to have it was during Finance Committee in November last year. And there is some funds put in the budget to do some work at John Gray. But again, you would have thought that all the planning for that work would have been done so that the planning was finished and actual work could be done in the 2 months that the children were out of school. I am not aware that there's anything being done, that any of that money is being spent this summer up there. And then there was some more money in the 2019 budget, and then they said they were going to put some additional money in 20 and 21. So it wasn't really scheduled for the school to be completed until, I think, either the end of 2020 or middle of 2021. I don't have the documents in front of me. And remember that the team that I spoke was seeking the dock and float education, right? Because we wanted, in the opposition, we wanted the money that was budgeted for the pier that we don't need to be spent specifically on John Gray High School to try to get that completed within this financial year, 2018. But none of the parents supported us on it, and the parents just seemed to be sitting back and letting their children suffer. And I think that the parents need to take a much more active role in terms of making their demands of the government, because the government has the funds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes, Mr. Miller, sometimes it only takes one person.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, right now, I'll be more than happy to go pay a dump truck to get some boulders and put in front of those gates. And I will tell you, since you don't know, I know for a fact that they are working on the canteen. They're repainting that. They're doing the floors. They're painting.
No, I'm not talking about maintenance work. I'm talking about starting the new construction and getting the design works and stuff done for that.
Well, Mr. Miller, the thing is, we know that we need the new construction, but in the meantime, the building needs to be maintained as well. We went there, and believe me, I was so upset because when you walk in the canteen, it smelled like you were walking in an outhouse.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad and stuff in there. The things needed painting. The walls needed painting. I mean, all of this is ecstatic, right? But I'm a great believer that even if you take a child out of the ghetto, right, and you give that child a good bath, give him some decent clothes to put on, and put him in a nice environment, he's either going to adjust or he's going to relapse the way he was. 99.9% of the time, I think that a child, because it is a child, they will try to adjust, right? I mean, that place, they will not eat inside the canteen because it is so stink and so disgusting and stuff in there. Honestly.
And there's no excuse to that. I mean, I can tell you that the opposition supports having that school completed ASAP because our children need the facilities, because what they have there is not in good shape.
All right. Listen, thank you very much. And with the greatest respect, I think education is one topic most of us will agree on. And as much as I would like to continue this, I want to be mindful that I can't this afternoon. Thank you, Mom. Please continue the passion, and maybe later on you can join us. Mr. Miller, being a politician, sometimes there's glamour, but some don't see the work.
Well, what is my good friend Mr. Arden always, you see my glory, but you don't know my story. And that's the problem, is that a lot of people come here and believe that Cayman was born in 1980. Mm-hmm. But because some of that be born 2005, it makes it even worse. But, we are so fortunate in Cayman in that, unlike many of our neighbors, we have the resources to do the right thing, right? But we find reasons to put the resources in other areas, right? And I continue to try to impress on the government that, listen, we can't solve all of the problems in Cayman overnight, right? But my grandma used to tell me, don't bite off in the morning you can chew, because you can't be able to chew anything at all. We should be able to select, right, certain areas that are problems, particularly in education. And let me give you for instance. For instance, we have a lot of people who come in here and they become journeyman plumbers, they become wiremen in the electrical department, in the construction industry, and they make a lot of money. Why are Caymanians not doing that? Because we have this stupid requirement, right, that in order for me as a Caymanian to sit a plumber's license, I got to go dig trenches for some plumber for 2 years. Now, we should be graduating people at 8 when they leave Clifton High School as journeyman plumbers and as electrical wiremen, right? And then they go out and they get some experience and you want to become a master plumber. Okay, so you go and work for yourself, or you go work as a journeyman plumber and digging trenches. You might have to dig some trenches too, but you're doing plumbing. You're a journeyman plumber. And if you got 2 years experience, then you can come back to the community college maybe and do a 6 months course, or you can do a 1 year course at night and become a master plumber, right? And same thing with electrical, become a master electrician. But the government is not giving Clifton Hunter any resources with which to work. They have the facilities, right? But again, we have the left hand, don't know what the right hand doing. In order for us to be able to graduate these Cayman students up there as journeyman plumber, we need to remove that little requirement that says I got to work 2 years for somebody digging trenches before I can take the exam to be a journeyman plumber. But we'll accept qualifications from Timbuktu, Like they come here and tell us they worked on 15 stores. We have no idea. Listen, people tell me stories. Sometimes I don't know whether to believe them or not, that you get people who come here and say they're electricians and they take the exam 5, 6, 7 times and can't pass it, right? But because they had all this fancy thing, we allow them to work on a work permit as a wireman, right? Now, mine, our immigration law says will be qualified as a work permit, But the only people that qualifications are required from here in that area, like in the tourism industry, is from Caymanians, right? So we just need to get things done, right? And again, we need to go back to what brought us here, good old-fashioned Caymanian common sense, right? With a little bit of intellect added on is a good thing. And we need to carve these things out. For instance, I worked with, let me give another example. My dear wife wanted to become a dental assistant. So I signed her up with Penn Foster to do a 10-part academic course. And I sat down with Dr. Ebanks and Dr. Solomon, which is the medical registration board, and says, okay, let's come up with a plan so that Caymanians can do this course, and how many hours they need to work under dental supervision. And they came up with 500 hours, I think it was, right? So she was able to do the academic course, do the 500 hours, right, and then go and get licensed. So she's now working as a dental assistant. But I can't get the government to publicize this, right? I can tell you that I have told several people who have, and her friends, a lot of her friends have done it, because this is again an area that we have a lot of work permit people, right? And a very good friend of mine is trying to start a cosmetologist type place here where you can get trained for all this kind. And we got probably 50, 60, 70, 100 people on work permit, right? But again, it is so difficult to get the support when you have people that are willing to do this, right? We have HaHa, doing a great job trying to teach people to be electricians, etc., struggling, when this kind of thing can be done in Clifton Hunter School under HaHa supervision, right? And, if a kid gets an A in that exam, right, that should be just as important as getting an A in biology or geography or maths or accounting. And it should carry the same kind of respect in terms of being able to graduate with honors. But we just, what we seem to be doing, right, and this is where I like Governor Schauder so well, right, is we don't cut through the chase. We try to find reasons to expand things, to complicate things, to bureaucratize things, right? And you got to fill out 15 different forms, right? And then that's not enough. You got to do 5 more, right? Because that makes the people who you're handing the form to sound important, right? And we got to get away from that. We need to. I'm not saying we should take any shortcuts. You must understand, but we need to deliberately, positively influence and provide opportunities for Cayman and to get into some of these lucrative areas that they need to get into.
Mr. Miller, I certainly appreciate your candor.
And it's good to be here. I'm glad I came. So
likewise, sir. Appreciate your
start my other day's work now.
Well, we've got a message to share with you before you leave. But listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Please join Mr. Art in the morning for the record. Stay tuned for all of our programming and come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Until then, be blessed.